Let me start with two disclaimers. I am the chairman of the board of the Thessaloniki water supply company, but for the last 35 years I've been working on renewables energy systems in my civilian life. I'm a professor of energy systems. Disclaimer number two, I've been working on renewables, so please don't get me wrong about what I'm going to say now. Because if I may pick up from where Ms. Doku stopped, I think none of us in this room, or at least almost none of us, will doubt that we have to move and manage the energy transition. I mean, if we want to survive on this planet and achieve the 2-degree goal, we have to work with renewables, with energy efficiency, with nuclear also, to be quite fair. But to do this, we need a lot of systems. The International Renewable Energy Agency, the IRENA, has estimated that we will need 33,000 gigawatts of photovoltaics, of wind generators, of hydropower by 2040 to reach this 1.5 to 2 degrees goal. Now, the problem lies in the fact that 3/4 of those systems, in the best case, are produced in China. Nothing against the Chinese, but they are produced in China. And it's not a simple outsourcing. Anyone who's in the field knows that by now the Chinese have excellent technology on these fields. We are lagging behind. And if we want to dig at a layer deeper, this was in the previous session by Mr. Maniatis and Mr. Theodorikakos, more than 80% of the critical raw materials needed for renewables, for photovoltaics, for wind generators, for battery cells, they are also outside the reach of the Western world, if I may pick up on where Boris Johnson yesterday stopped. So it's a very nice idea to move towards the energy transition, but we have to deal with 2 points. A, who will bear the cost? Because it's an upfront investment. The regulatory framework is very nice to promote renewables, to promote energy efficiency, but at the end of the day, someone will have to put up close to 2 trillion euros to achieve the carbon neutrality by 2050. And this someone cannot be someone from outer space. At the end of the day, it will be asked by the consumer to pay it, either directly or indirectly. And the second question is, do we want to have carbon neutrality at the cost, for example, of not producing any energy system in Europe? Greece is a quite interesting example. We have been for years, for decades, the leader in solar thermal systems. We were the biggest producers. Now we're number 2 behind Germany, obviously, economies of scale. And if we look at the national plan for the energy and the climate change, I think Ms. Doku was in charge of it when she was vice minister, we speak a lot about the electrification of the economy. We have some small part about the thermal energy aspect, and that's not only in Greece, that's everywhere in Europe. We are trying to, I'm very much afraid that we will reduce carbon emissions to a very low level by reducing our industrial activity. And I'm not really sure if we want this to happen. On the other hand, it's clear that we cannot proceed as we used at a very slow and low pace for the decades before. Climate change is threatening us. A company that manages water resources is very aware of how sensitive we are to the impact of climate change. At the same time, we have reduced our carbon footprint as EYATH by 65% over 3 years by using renewables, substituting electricity and natural gas. But this comes at a cost. We do it very consciously, and we try not to pass over the additional cost to the consumers, but this comes at a cost that in the long term we have to face it. And in order to wrap it up and not to take too much of the time, leave for Nikos Faradoulis, who I'm sure will say something very interesting afterwards. We have to find a balanced way. We need to manage the energy transition, but we have to do it in such a way that will keep Europe as an industrial area alive, not necessarily in energy-intensive activities, but in developing and producing energy systems that will allow us to achieve the goal of carbon neutrality. Thank you.